Good morning. This is session 4 of the creative module for CDA, Infant and Toddler. We are talking about making a case for the arts. Participants in this session will learn the reach and value of creativity in the classroom. And according to your textbook, creativity spans a bunch of different domains. It says on page 300 that it expands their imagination and originality. They can explore new ideas and look at existing ideas in new ways. It helps with their pretend play, inventing scenarios and make-believe. For flexibility, they're open to new experiences and trying new things. For decision making, it's really helpful for, if you're creative, you experiment more, right? So as you're experimenting with, let's say you have different sand tools out in the sandbox, and you came by and showed the children how to scoop sand into a cup, and then you walked away to do something else. So the kids that are rule followers are going to all be scooping sand into the cup, and that's all they'll do, because that's all they saw you model for them. The creative ones are going to be looking at that cup, figuring out, okay, what else can I do? They might turn the cup upside down and dump it out. They might use something else to try to scoop into it. They might be putting different tools together and shaking them to see if they make sound. So because they're getting all of those extra experiences, when it's time to be creative and make decisions later, they have more information they can pull from, because they know more about what those objects can do. For communication and self-expression, so we talked about Beyonce and Frida Kahlo. Both of them are very good at expressing what they were thinking and what they feel, using their arts, using visual art, using singing, using dancing, communication and self-expression, motivation. So the kid that is following the rules all the time and doing just what they see the teacher do are only motivated to please the teacher. Once you get creative and start experimenting, you're doing that to please yourself, to learn something new. So people who are creative have a higher level of being pleased with how they are doing things, and they're not as dependent on the teacher telling them good job. Creative people are more likely to work in a team to figure things out, and they are better able to do things physically and actively because they've done a lot of experimentation. They know how their body can move. They know how objects can move. Okay. Creative people also handle disruption better. So for those poor children that have difficulty transitioning from one activity to another, the more opportunities that you can give them to be creative and think outside the box, the easier it'll be over time for them to handle change. We already talked about the internal motivation. Creative people can also see ways to connect different parts of their day together and different experiences together. All right. I know at least one person in this group has heard about Reggio Emilia before. Yes?
Yes.
No? Yes?
Yes. Yes.
All right. So there is a Reggio Emilia. This is a philosophy, by the way. It started in, guess where? Reggio Emilia, Italy.
Italy. Yes.
It started after World War II. If I remember correctly from my research a long time ago, they had, this was a little town, and they had a tank that had been abandoned in the town from the war, and they managed to sell it off to help fund their first preschool program. I thought that was kind of cool. The purpose or the point of Reggio Emilia is to center on the child's interest and center on art. So they follow interest through art. If you go in a Reggio Emilia school, without fail, they will have a room set aside just for art material and art creation. I think they call it an atelier. They usually have somebody that considers themselves an artist as part of the staff. And the purpose of that artist is to show children how you can use materials. So if they're working with wire or they're working with clay, the artist is there to show them how they can do it. So if you've ever worked with clay, you'll know there are special ways that you need to make marks in the clay and put liquid on it to make it stick together properly so it doesn't blow up in the oven. So they'll show techniques like that. They focus on child interest. So if the kids are outside and they're focused on the squirrels and they want to see what the squirrels will eat, they'll take that project of studying squirrels and they'll extend it for months. So they might spend the first week working on trying to figure out what the squirrels like to eat the best, and they'll take different things outside and document it, what the squirrels are eating. Then maybe they decide they need to figure out, well, what kind of things can squirrels climb? And maybe they'll make some different climbing structures and put the good treats at the top and see how they climb. Maybe they'll take their drawing materials outside and draw the different parts of the squirrel that they're seeing. Then I've seen even creating playgrounds for squirrels that these schools have done. It just really keeps going. One of the reasons they do those extended projects is because you can integrate all the different elements of learning. You can put group work in there, you can put math in there, science, art really easily, and because they're so interested in it, they learn it. I was going to show you, if you're interested, but let me just read out some of the highlights here about Reggio Emilia's, the person that created it, Loris Malguzzi, said that a child is made of 100 languages, 100 hands, 100 thoughts, 100 ways of speaking, of thinking, of marveling and loving. They have 100 worlds to discover, to invent. The child has 100 languages and 100 more. But the school and the culture separate the head from the body. They tell the child to think without using their hands, to do without their head, to listen but not to speak, to understand without joy, to love and to marvel only at Easter and Christmas. They tell the child to discover the world already there. Of the 100 languages, they steal 99. They tell the child that work and play, reality and fantasy, science and imagination, sky and earth, reason and dream are things that do not belong together. They tell the children that the 100 is not there, but the child says, no way, the 100 is there. So that just kind of tells you the headspace that the creator was at, that they believe education need to be integrated, need to be focused on joy and discovery. And I thought that was good for us to hear. So there's a North American Reggio Emilia Alliance, if this appeals to you. And they do have events that you can go and see what a school that uses this kind of practice looks like. So it's not considered a curriculum, it's considered a way of doing things, an approach to learning. You can also go on YouTube. And not every, as you know, not everything you find on the internet is accurate, but you can type in Reggio Emilia Toddler and you can see some different ideas that schools have had for doing Reggio Emilia in toddler classrooms and infant classrooms. And if that appeals to you, they usually are really well known for using beautiful setups for integrating light and natural materials. And I always find it fun to take a look at it. All right, let's get back to where we were. Come on. All right. So developmental milestones. Okay, now I have to exit out of this again and show you because I didn't think that through properly. So I know we've gotten away from it in the past few weeks, but shoot, what just happened? Exit. Go away. Come back. All right. Do you all see the Little Texans Big Futures screen?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yay!
Yes.
Yay! So happy. Okay. So if you go and type littletexans.org, you can get to the Little Texans Big Futures. That's that thing we were using for the curriculum goals, just in case your center doesn't have curriculum goals. And you can go. You can, of course, download the full guidelines, but if you prefer, it's sometimes easier to just choose the age on the side here. So I have 18 to 36 chosen, just for giggles. And you can look. Let's see, trust and emotional security. I think it was intellectual. Yeah. So creative kind of falls into a few different spots. You can find creative goals. So we're doing a creative lesson plan, right? So
Yes.
here's one place you can find them under intellectual development, exploration, and discovery. That has creative stuff in it. They have imitation and make-believe. So creative is not imitating, right? But it would be the make-believe. You can look at problem solving, because that would be creative. And it's as simple as experimenting with new toys to see how they work. Turn puzzle pieces different ways to complete them. Offer to trade toys with other children. That's problem solving, creative. So you just have to look through this a bit and see what suits. Language development, no, emotional maybe. Let's see.
Yeah, I mentioned yes.
I'm looking to see if anything in here really falls under creative.
Self-awareness.
Not as much. Let's see, physical, what they have. It can also be a fine motor one as well if you're choosing to do a visual art experiment with them. So if you're letting them play with new art materials like paint or heaven knows what, dot markers, it has tearing paper here for that. You can have them do something having to do with a finger play along with a song. You can have them do the pretend play in the home area. I know quite a few infant classrooms even have, a small sink and bowls and stuff for the kids to play. So consider where you want to take your lesson plan for art, for creative, and we can discuss it at 12:30 if you like. We can talk through everything you want to do in your lesson plan so you don't have to get nervous or worried about it. All right, so that's all I have for this morning. That gets you through session 3 and session 4, so yay. Does anybody have any questions? We're going to be meeting. I'm going to send you out the link for the 12:30 lesson plan session today, right after this. Does anybody have any questions?
No.
Prior to that?
Mm-mm.
At the moment.
No.
Not at the moment, yeah.
Later.
Okay. So just think about, do you want to do something with problem solving? Do you want to do something to do with like straight up art, like music, movement, fine art, pretend play? Think about it. have that idea ready. And if you have any time, like at 12:15 or 12:20, log on to that Little Texans Big Futures and hunt around and see if there's a goal that fits what you're thinking.
Okay.
Okay.
All right?
Okay. Okay. Thank you. See you
Super.
later.
Bye. Have a great
Bye.
morning.
Bye.
Bye. You too.